I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step. Sheri Salata spent 20 years up close and personal with Oprah Winfrey as the executive producer of The Oprah Winfrey Show and then co-president of the OWN network. She learned from the absolute best. Her why not now moment hit her one day when she realized that many areas of her life hadn't been tended to, and she became scared that she was digging her own grave. She didn't just want to be known as the woman who, for 20 years, had a great job. So she left the career of her dreams to live the life of her dreams. In this episode, Sheri talks about exactly what happened the moment she realized everything had to change. And she talks about the very first steps she took to navigate this big shift in her life. Sheri has been named one of Fast Company's 100 most creative people in business. She is the co-founder of a media company called Story, and she also co-hosts the podcast This is 50 with Sheri and Nancy. We tackle the most taboo topics on the Why Not Now show. Oftentimes, you're hearing guests share things they've never shared before. In the spirit of things we don't typically talk about, you should know that the Why Not Now show is supported by Poo-Pourri. Yep, the original before you go toilet spray. It's magic. My friends at Poo-Pourri have literally taken the smell out of you know what. This pure blend of essential oils stops bathroom odor before it begins. Visit poopourri.com, and Why Not Now listeners get 20% off with code WHYNOTNOW. That's all one word. Also, you can now get Poo-Pourri at Target. Sheri, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Amy Jo. Glad to be here.
We're excited to have you. Very excited. And in true Why Not Now fashion, let's get straight to the first question. Can you tell me about a time when you had to ask yourself, why not now?
Yes, I sure can. They're actually, I've done that many, many times. I would call them, at the time they were do-overs, but 3 big why not nows that all had to do with career and really trying to find my way. And the most recent was leaving OWN to do my own thing, to launch my own company. It really was an outgrowth of meeting all kinds of young, fantastic people who were running their own companies, who were the masters of their faith, the captains of their soul. And of course, I had a front row seat to one of the most prolific female entrepreneurs, Oprah Winfrey, for almost 21 years. And why not now was a theme that kept coming up in my Chardonnay conversations with one of my best friends, Nancy Hollop. We kept saying, is this all there is? Are we really happy with how things have turned out? And that led to an extraordinary personal moment for me. Why not now be in charge of your own life? You have had the dream career after many fits and starts where, misery was your compass and you'd end up leaving situations that just you just knew it wasn't your mission and wasn't your path. So you've created this dream career. You've relished every single moment of it. But there begins to be this nagging feeling that you haven't created a dream life for yourself. And that is the beginning of that why not now.
And I've heard you say before, if not now, when, or why not me? And that's all in the same family as this why not now question that oftentimes starts brewing. And then there is a moment. And it sounds like, so you're sitting around these conference room tables listening to entrepreneurs talk about what they're building and their dreams. Was there a true moment where you said, that's it, I'm going to leave this career, or transition at least, from 20 years and working with one of the most iconic people on this planet and do my own thing? Was there a moment where it became real?
Well, it became real the day after I left.
Well, let's back up. I can only imagine.
It became real the day after I left. Getting to the why not now is really kind of, you can stay in a situation that no longer serves anybody, or you can have, the courage to start asking yourself some really serious questions. And there are many times in my life where I have become very unconscious because, change was not my garment. I didn't like to wear change. I didn't like to put on that uniform. And, judging by the fact that once I found my meaning and mission, my nose was to the grindstone for almost 21 years, to the exclusion of a lot of other things. But it was my great joy and my great love. And just like in a conversation, Amy Jo, when you're having a conversation with somebody or a group of people, and the natural rhythm of when people start to talk, and then when they pass it on to the next person, and when it's time to move to the next person, and when it's time for, okay, there's a reply here, there's a natural energetic volleying. And honestly, that is something that I made a decision to become better at, to know when it's time in anything to make a move. And so that's kind of it, kind of feeling like in a rut, kind of feeling like you're not growing, it feels a lot like unhappiness. What prompts a why not now, if you have the courage for it?
And that's exactly what I want to get at, because it's one thing to have the idea or the dream start brewing, and even the Chardonnay convos, right? And then another to that very first step is a step across a bridge, and usually a bridge that is full of fear. But once you get across the bridge, or at least take the first step, you're on your way. And then execution is another story for sure. But a lot of times on this show, I hear from people who there's a trend, there's a theme. One of the things they do to get across the bridge, and one of the tactical, tangible things, is they don't give themselves an out. They do something specific to put a mechanism in place that holds them accountable. And it's almost like they intentionally put their backs against the wall because they know if they don't do it, they won't follow through. Was there anything that you did in this process that, and it might even just be sometimes setting a meeting to have a conversation. Like I imagine having that first conversation with Oprah was a big deal. Was there anything that you did to, there's a quote that's, if you want to take the island, you burn your boats, that you burn your boat.
Oh my gosh, Tony Robbins said that once.
He does.
Oprah and I were at a seminar. If you want to take the island, you have to burn your boats.
He said it on this show too before.
I would not say that that's my story. What I would say, what was really the story for me, because, Oprah is Oprah Winfrey, and both, I learned at the feet of the master, and I sat there taking notes for 20 years for all the wisdom keepers and spiritual masters. So she wouldn't have anything but a supportive, loving parting. What it was honestly, my moment of reckoning was a comprehensive physical, which was really the cold water in my face, the the moment of wake up from unconsciousness, the sun beating, coming into the room and illuminating things, when I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. My cholesterol. I mean, these are really specific things. My cholesterol was almost 400. I was 100 pounds overweight. And those were just that was the moment, like, oh my God, there's no turning back from this, from knowing this. I had really let all the other areas of my life really get out of control or unmanaged or unseen or untended to. And once I knew that information, there was no going back. And that was really the no going back moment for me. And beyond those statistics, that reality that I'm literally digging my own grave, was the idea that if not now, when? If you do not take the steps forward to create the life of your dreams, all that's going to be your little blurb, your little bio blurb is, for 20 years she had a really great job.
Wow. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that is exactly a moment of, okay, yeah, this is about to change. And I can imagine the pace and the hours for so many years. And in a way, your why not now is choosing yourself too.
Yeah.
And that's very noble. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Well, and also, Amy Jo, one of the things about it is that all of this I could have come to within a work structure. So that's my big epiphany, that I could have, and other people did that better than me. It really wasn't, there was a set of circumstances at a job that forced me into this unconsciousness, because there were other people that had a lot of stress and pressure on them in television. It's a lot's going on, and they navigated that better. That I own all of this, and I can look back on that and say, whoa, you could have really done that differently, especially with all the knowledge you had from the greatest experts in the world.
Sure. It's great to hear you taking 100% responsibility of it too, and realizing that now, and in this case, different scenery, different view and change of pace seems to have worked really well. And now you're building your own company. You have a podcast. I see a book is coming out. It's
Yes.
pretty big shift and change, I would say. What's one of the things that you're most surprised about now that you're kind of on another side of the fence?
Well, first of all, I have completely redefined the elements of my life. And in order to move forward with some consciousness, with like, okay, so you're a producer, Sheri Salata. Let's get to producing the life of your dreams. And how do I become more of the being essence of that, instead of with, to-do lists with 1,000 things on them, which often happens when you're in service to something else. And what I began to realize over, the first few months was, oh, this is my work. Really what I most want to do, the conversation I most want to have, really is about living the life of my dreams, and really looking at every area of that life, from health and wellness to spirituality and happiness to romance and sex, and onward. And so I began to see that always was job one. Now that sounds very elementary to somebody who already knows that. But there's many of us that move through the world where everybody else's agenda is more important.
Mm-hmm. I've been one. In fact, my agenda for my career has been more important than anything else in my life at times, and it's definitely not a good look for me when that had happened. And what I realized was, and I'm not sure if you felt this way at any point in your career, but I became addicted to adrenaline, to that next rock star high of just, you could define it in any way you wanted, but it became so addictive that then that leads to a lot of other things. But it's so fleeting and you can't sustain it. So I'm grateful that I realize that now, but it's not everybody does, right? And so to be able to kind of be on this side looking at things a little differently, I think it's really easy for entrepreneurs to get that, to become, you have to own your own story, path, day, what goes into it. And we romanticize sometimes that view of entrepreneurship, but it really can be anything you make it. Just like you said, you could have lived a little bit differently when you were in your career the first time around.
Absolutely. And, so when I say that is my work now, that is my work now. And that could have been, I could have handled things very similarly, because I can hear people saying, but you don't understand, it does take me 70 hours a week. And, that does have to come first right now. And nobody understands that better than me. Let me just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody understands that better than me. I mean, I felt like I worked on one of the most important missions on the planet. So, and I internalized that really deeply. But I would also use that the bigness of that mission and the import of it to not sit and meditate myself, to not do 15 minutes of yoga myself, to eat a big old Italian beef with Chicago Italian beef instead of a salad, to have, 15 jumbo diet sodas instead of water all day, all those things contributing to a level of stress that, had other results. So, that's the one thing. You can do exactly what I'm saying and make your own dreams and your own happiness, the focus of your life. And work can be a beautiful piece of it, but using it as an excuse to go unconscious about everything else, that's the path to unhappiness, as you and I know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I'm curious too, with everything you've experienced and the people you've learned from and witnessed up close and personal. I was recently having a conversation with a friend about this concept of chasing carrots, right? So we kind of chase these carrots throughout our lives, and it's very normal to do so. But then there's a difference between that and seeking or, going after what you truly want and doing what you want to do. Is there any wisdom that you have to share about the difference or knowing when one's one and one's the other? Because it's not a bad thing to do what you want to do and chase what you want. And maybe that word chase the connotation is just tripping me up here. But that versus these carrots that we just keep grasping at. Any wisdom to share on that concept?
Well, here's what I believe, and here's what I'm experiencing for myself. You can have anything you want. I mean, that is my profound spiritual belief. You can have anything you want, and all at the same time. So laying the track for that is a being position. It's more like doing the meditation, like raising your vibration, and it's all kinds of things that can seem cliche, but they're actually the most powerful practices of. And one of the things that I talk a lot about in my work is dreaming. Sounds like a Hallmark card with fluffy clouds and stuff, but what it really is, it's a very powerful quantum practice that begins to put you in a state, Tony Robbins, that where you begin to manifest exactly what you want, and it happens all the time. And kind of treating that dreaming thing as an important daily practice, and also a little bit of a spiritual game. It's kind of like, infusing your life with some fun, for heaven's sakes, and going after those carrots with great joy, and quieting your mind so you know what it is, what you truly want. And you're not just like, well, they seem to want it, so I want that too. One of the things in the last 18 months that I've been focusing on is I really only want to do what I want to do. And I want to do it with the people I want to do it with. And I want to do it when I want to do it. And at least when I commit to that, I have the basis of having a life experience that revolves around my own happiness. And when I am happy and accomplishing that, everybody in my life wins.
And to make it so clear and be able to use it as a filter when you might get a little off, like, wait a minute, am I doing what I want to do when I want to do it? It's
Exactly.
So you've been this high-powered executive. You have a lot of just spiritual journey and learnings under your belt too. How do you know when to make things happen versus let them happen? Because I'm sure there have been times, you're co-president of the OWN network and you've had these high-stress, high-powered jobs where you just got to make shit happen. And then you also subscribe, it sounds like, to really knowing in your being when it's supposed to happen or not. So any wisdom in that? Because that's one of my biggest chores in life is to get that one down.
Well, honestly, Amy Jo, I am a recovering make it happen addict.
Me too. So, we can start that club.
So, but I'm committed to becoming an allower, to becoming somebody who kind of, states my dream and then like jumps up and down for joy as I watch, the pieces of it come in, thereby, drawing more of it to me. So every now and then, sometimes, so here's my little confession, and it just happened this week. I'm working on a couple new projects. We're going to do a live event at the end of August. We're working on some digital things. And I could feel rising up within me those very deeply rooted, rutted neural pathways, my need to make it happen. Get it done and get it booked. And, all those, like, there's no time, that kind of feeling, like running, there's not enough time, got to get it done, almost too much, almost a feeling of overwhelm. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great that you get to see this part of yourself is not gone.
Oh, wow. What self-awareness.
This is so great. Look at that. It's all still there, all ready to just erupt, right in the middle of an activity that feels very much like the past in some respects. It's like you're producing something. And I just went and had a quiet moment with myself and say, okay, what part of that's good? And what part of that is the path to a life that's not of your dreams? And so I just kind of picked it apart a little bit. And I went back to saying to myself, if you really do believe that the allowing of the dream to come into fruition, and if you really do believe that there's an energy there that you are connected to that's co-creating with you and helping you bring things into full manifestation, then let's practice that even when we feel the pull to behave in old patterns. So that's where I'm at this week, Amy Jo.
Oh, this is good. It's so relevant too. I've been doing some work with Dr. Gay and Katie Hendricks. Gay Hendricks, I believe, was on the Oprah Show at one point, or maybe a few times. And fortunate to do some work with them. And one of the things that they've taught me a lot about is body intelligence. I never used to pay any attention to what was going on in my body, right? It was all about the head, analytical, let's get this done, XYZ logic. And they talk a lot about personas, and interviewing your own personas. So it sounds like your make it happen persona and aspect of you isn't all bad. And sometimes we need to put them at the back of the bus and put their seatbelt on and tell them to zip it. But there are times when they need a job too. So it's interesting. It's like, okay, you get on this over here, but I've got my eye on you. and that's really interesting to kind of be so in tune that you're able to recognize when that make it happen ultra producer comes out, but also value them too, right? I mean, they've done a kick-ass job.
They've done a kick-ass job at some things.
At some things, exactly.
That persona has done a kick-ass job at some things, but who I am today, I'm very clear. on what I want my life experience to be. And so that she can't rule the roost. Kick-ass producer can't rule the roost.
Nope. Get in the back of the bus. Maybe put a muzzle on her at times. Sit quietly.
Right. You can come out on Mondays for 2 hours.
Yes, exactly. I had asked Katie Hendricks a question, and I said, I'm finding I'm doing this. Should I do this, or should I just rise above and XYZ? And she said, I think you should interview your rise above persona. And I thought, yeah, good point. That's not necessarily a solution. So, yeah, way to turn it right back around. So, okay, so I have to ask, what's the number one thing you learned from working so closely with Oprah Winfrey?
Here's the thing. There is not one thing. There couldn't possibly be. However, I will say what that experience did. It gave me a spiritual life. Mm. I walked into that job, ready to give my heart and soul, and I did for a really long time. But what it gave back to me was Oprah's seeking as a spiritual seeker and so spiritually curious, really opened the doors for me to introduce me to all kinds of Eckhart and Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra and all of those great spiritual teachers, Iyanla Vanzant. One after another, I could begin to see, find a language in each one of everybody's work, and then put together. I finally felt connected to something greater than myself. So that's a company benefit nobody can top.
Yeah, I would say, quite the package there. If you can walk away with that and having, I love how you said it too. She's a spiritual seeker, and we were just talking about seeking and carrots. And if you're going to seek something, you might as well get really curious and learn more about that, right? Talk about the ultimate ROI.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. So, so cool. And so tell us a little bit about the podcast and the book.
Well, the book is a work in progress, but it's going to zero in on what I'm talking to you about right now, which is this mighty dream quest I'm on, and really leaving the career of my dreams to live the life of my dreams. And the podcast, oh my God, it's called This Is 50 with Sheri and Nancy. Nancy Holla and I literally sit down and, we each have our defined dream quests, and we talk to people who can help us accomplish or move, start to think about things differently. But we are literally supporting each other. Nancy, single mom, raised 2 great kids, and I've known her, by the way, for 27 years. And then I had the big Oprah career. And then we both sat down in our 50s and said, what happens if this is just the middle of life and we aren't really gearing up for the big finish? What else do we want? And what else do we want to do? So that's our goal, really, to inspire ourselves to, elevate our lives and, live the lives of our dreams.
Love it. And one of the things that I've read, and I've seen the various episodes of these topics. And so you mentioned soulmate, having that soulmate love as one of your dream quests. And I saw the episode where you talk about Bumble too, although I have not listened to all of it. What are some of the things you're doing in that category?
Well, Nancy and I have very different personalities on the quest for soulmate love.
Okay.
But she'll go on any dating app and do anything. I will not do any of that. So I am conjuring him through a series of meditations and exercises. We have a sex therapist, love coach, Dr. Laura Berman, who is kind of guiding us every step of the way and considering our differences. So my plan's different than Nancy's plan. And, we just keep supporting each other. So here's a funny thing, Amy Jo. So in the podcast world, so I go on the dating sites just to see what's available and what's out there. And I'm a little frightened. Have you ever online dated? in your life?
No, I somehow skipped that whole phase with my relationships. However, I have set up a Bumble account before for a friend. They agreed to it. This wasn't like rogue. And I found it entertaining at first and then a little exhausting and just not
That's what
really
Nancy's
fun.
saying. Nancy's saying it starts to feel really burdensome to have to chitty chat on text with all these guys. So here's the thing. I say we have made great emotional progress.
Ooh, good.
I would say we're breaking down barriers. Boy, I had a big metal like, fortress in front of me because I had, I was working so many hours that I could use that as an excuse not to get in the arena and mix it up. So I feel like we've done that piece of it. But we have yet to see tangible results.
Well, that's okay though. That's okay. Yeah. You can be non-linear path here. And I did have one guest who they're doing amazing things in their career world and very happy. And the one thing they said they want to focus on, a why not now for the future, was finding a mate. And they kind of said it jokingly, and they wanted to skip past it and get to another topic, and I wouldn't let them. And you know what's happened? Because of this episode, and it's with Christian Schaff, he's had quite a few different, people surface, and I won't speak for him. I don't know where this is netted out exactly, but just putting it out to the universe
That's right.
Is where it starts, right? That's exactly.
Right.
And your energy. So,
well, and I will tell you, one of the things that Nancy and I talk about, and I was just saying to her a few weeks ago, it's almost like you can have a really dreamy life without soulmate love, but there's no frosting on your cake. That to deprive yourself of to have a great cake and keep depriving yourself of frosting is probably, not the joyful life you want to live. So I have completely I've kind of turned my perspective around. I have to stop saying, oh, it's just going to be a pain, or I'm so set in my ways, or I hate dating, when I don't know the people, and tell myself a different story about that.
Absolutely. That story in our head, it's pretty powerful, isn't it?
It's really powerful.
Well, is there anything that you've been thinking about doing that now you're asking yourself, why not now? And I realized your whole life and this whole shift and pivot has been this, but is there anything else?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm in the midst of 3 months of why not now, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. So yes, you're right. Every moment of my life these days is a why not now, but most specifically, I wanted to learn a language. So I instead of just talking about it like I would have done for months and years and decades, like so many other things, I signed up every Tuesday at noon. I go and take my Italian 1 class.
Oh, nice.
I started that in January. And I also wanted to learn Reiki, the energy healing treatment. And I was recommended to a course that's taught by a very accomplished, nationally renowned Reiki person. And so I'm taking that. And, the last thing was I wanted to see if I could go without alcohol for 90 days. I had been throwing myself a little party since a trip to Napa in August. And it's like you get home and the cases start coming in and you're like, gosh, I really like a couple glasses of wine at night. And so at the end of the year, I thought, I am going to see. I don't think I've never gone more than a week, probably since I was of age, if I can. So I'm about midway through that process. And it was like, if not now, if not now, when are you going to do it? Like, when are you going to really take all elements of your health seriously? So that's my 90-day project right now. My why not now?
Wow, I love this. Those are some biggies. And
those are biggies.
They are, and legit follow through, Sheri. I'm impressed. I'm definitely impressed. It reminds me of sometimes tech entrepreneurs. They work in what's called 2-week sprints, and I don't know too much about this other than I've been exposed a little bit to it. And it's kind of like you're doing a 3-month sprint where you set it, get after it, and when it's over, it's over. I love it. I love it. Are you up for a couple of rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Okay. Here we go. Pirates or ninjas? Who's tougher and why?
Pirates. The patch on their eye.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Welcome to Team Pirates. And what keeps you up at night?
Not living the life of my dreams.
Which is interesting because it keeps you from literally dreaming. Getting all meta there. And what are you reading right now?
Oh, Mary Louise Parker's book of stories. It's Hey, Mr. You. I love her.
Awesome.
She's so smart. I want to be her friend.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say this to my younger self. You're going to do everything wrong, but it's going to turn out all right.
Nice. Ooh, that's good. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Sheri. This has been a blast. And
thanks, Amy Jo. I loved it.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?